today I'm very excited to have Ter Wal, who's joining us from the Netherlands to talk on the podcast about all things leadership. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Thank you very much, Kate. Happy to be here.
It's just fantastic. Now, I'd love to find out more about what you do and why you do what you do.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost 67 years old. So in the Netherlands, you call formally in retirement, but I will keep on working because I love to play. I love to work. I started as a lawyer almost 45 years ago. It was the time that you couldn't find a job. We had a lot of young people unemployed. It was about 10-15%. I found a job as a lawyer. I wanted to be a reporter. I wanted to be a journalist. No jobs available there. So I started in Social Security. And the fun part is that if you are a lawyer but working in Social Security, you're dealing with human beings. And your job is to support the people who really should benefit of Social Security. So for me, it was a great position to start working with people because I did lawsuits against people, and then we were talking about what happened in their world, in their lives, and why they couldn't work or support themselves, and why the government should support them. I did that for 10 years also in healthcare insurance, and then I started for myself. So I'm self-employed now for more than 30 years. I'm working in the field of employee engagement, sustainable employability. And for me, it's about fun.
So tell me more about that. Tell me about the why, what drives, because employee engagement, I agree, is critically important. Tell me more about what that brings for you, what it means for you.
The point for me is that I see a lot of people going for work just to earn money. And I'm not against it because sometimes you need to make choices and you need to earn money and you can find a job. But then you need to start thinking about what your core values are.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do? And an American colleague of mine calls them non-negotiables. And I found it so amazing because we don't have that word in the Netherlands. We have core values, but not non-negotiables. And suddenly I was thinking about who am I and why am I doing what I do? And I'm not going to negotiate about who I am. I am who I am. And we talk a lot about authentic leadership, but everybody is a unique person. So we're all authentic if we do what we love to do. So I try to work with people to find out, why are you doing this job? Does it give you energy? And for me, engagement is I go to work with a lot of energy and I go to work with even more energy because I need that surplus in my private life to deal with my friends, with my family, with my kids. So if work is draining your energy, then you will call in sick at some point. You will have a burnout because you're using more energy than you get. So I always use the battery. Are you in the red zone, the orange zone, or the green zone? And if you're in the orange zone, you should have a good conversation with somebody to help you to that green level again because you're losing energy. And
that's fantastic. And we just talked before, but for me, work is play, is the opportunity for us to show off our skills and to apply them and to get the enjoyment and that we get from being that. And so I always think that part of engagement is being trusted to do the job. Yeah. And I often ask a question in groups about what does respect look like in this team? And I can't tell you the number of times it comes up where people say, it looks like being trusted to do the job you've hired me to do.
Yeah. Well, I just had the quote last Saturday and it was amazing. So I put it on my desk. When I talk to managers, I have the feeling that they are important. If I talk to leaders, I get the feeling that I'm important. And I think that's really what it's all about. Do you have a leader who supports you, who's not telling you from above what you should do, but is standing behind you, using your talents, your skin, your energy to get to the result, the purpose that we have together. So it's too simple, but it makes more clear what we see now in a lot of companies, that we have top-down management telling us, the people who are really doing the job, what we should do and how we should do it, even though we are the expert, instead of giving us the trust, the energy, the opportunity to do what we need to do.
Yeah. So what are the challenges? What are the barriers to people being trusted in the workplace?
I think, and then I speak as a lawyer again, all the protocols that we have, all the rules, because of course we need rules to make the environment clear in which we can play. But what I see is that we use rules to tell others how to play. So for me as a lawyer, it's important that we set the guidelines. This is the job that we need to do. You as a team, go ahead and play. And if you need my support as a leader, please come to me. By the way, I will walk around. I will be present. And that's one of the things I love most, that a lot of managers say, my door is always open. And I think, no, you're busy with teams, with meetings, and your door is always, you should walk around and talk to people and ask, how are you doing today? How can I support you? And what I notice for especially middle management, that's the hardest question to ask. How can I support you? So we should put it on their front faces and say, that's the question you're going to ask. But the big problem is they have managers themselves telling them what to do. And then you become in that middle area of gray. So I tried to be a manager once, and I had 15 consultants working for me. I stopped it within 2 years. That's not me. I couldn't play like you said. I was fixing things instead of playing and doing what I love to do. So I wasn't using my talents.
Yeah. And I love that. That is what so many leaders do, is they fix things.
Yeah.
They fix, they don't trust, they fix.
Yeah.
And they make things worse every time they fix.
Because there is no trust. They don't give me that opportunity to make a mistake. And of course, there are mistakes that are really terrible to make. But most of the time, it's that small thing you didn't do right. And then you should be asked, what could be improved? What should you do the next time to make it better? And then people become creative and start playing.
Yeah.
Because then I get the trust, the playing field, to become a better person, to become a better expert, to use my talents.
And then we have accountability too. If we create that space where it's safe for people to fail, then it's safe to go, I made this mistake.
Yep.
This happened. And, I always think of mistake as a really interesting word, because we feel terrible making a mistake because nobody means for it to happen. Like, it's called a mistake because it's a mistake. You never deliberately go out of your way to make things not work. So, but with the guilt that people can feel because something didn't work, or we didn't notice something, or we're distracted, or whatever it could be. But the learning, the opportunity that comes from being aware of how that happened in the first place is so valuable.
Yeah, but that's the point. We are trained to be scared to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And it starts as little kids. If you go to, we call it football, you call it soccer. If you go to a soccer field and I see 5, 6, 7 years old running on that field, picking up flowers instead of kicking the ball, then the parents will say, hey, you should shoot that ball.
Yes.
So they're telling them you're making a mistake instead of letting them play. And now in the Netherlands, we have a rule that if you are parents and you're standing next to the field, you should shut up.
Good.
Be quiet. Let the coaches and the referee make the playing field, and you as parents, shut up. go drink some coffee or tea. Don't interfere with the kids. Let them play. It sounded the first time, oh my goodness, we need some football control there, police as well. But now it's more in my mind that we are creating a playing field for the kids where they can play at their level. And for some, is it kicking the ball into the goal. For others, it's picking flowers. And I know my son was one of those guys that picked the flowers. And then he had 5, 6 flowers and gave to my wife and gave her the flowers. But he was playing. And then people said, no, you need to kick the ball. No, he was playing. He was having fun.
Yeah.
And he has a great job now. And then I think, give people the time, the space. So we should hold not only the employees, the workers accountable, but leadership as well.
I think we should hold leadership the most accountable. Yeah. But I think what you're suggesting there, that story about picking the flowers, is the same thing that happens in leadership. It's the parents' fear, and this is going to reflect on me badly, that my child is not performing and not kicking the ball, and how are they playing soccer if they're picking flowers? And just as leaders go, how can you be performing unless you're doing it exactly the way I want it? Because we want to control, because if we're not confident, we want people to reflect well on us.
Yeah. We see a movement now in Europe because we have the Anglo-Saxon way of organizing, the top-down, with the CEO on top, and then Mintzberg, lovely looking. And we have now a system called the Rhineland movement, and that's Switzerland, Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium, where we see that we turn it horizontal, the line, and leaders are in the back. And the professionals are the one who are really performing. Like in a cafe, if you're sitting outside, you want a drink, not the CEO is coming to take your order, it's that professional. And the only thing the leader should do is give so much support that that professional can perform in the right way to act to the customers. So customer service is now integrated with employee experience. Because if there is a misfit between what the experience of the employee is, the customer won't get any satisfaction. So instead of telling you what to do, and you see a lot of videos on that on the internet, that the boss comes in because the employee is doing something wrong in a cafe or a restaurant. How can I help you? And they disqualify immediately that employee. And that's that control system.
Yeah.
And now there is a big action going on. Can't we make it, instead of vertical, horizontal? And the leader has only one job, and that's support the professionals to do their job in a good way. And they can use systems and money and staff and whatever, but it's horizontal. There is not a vertical boss telling you what to do. It's only support system.
Yeah.
I can tell you it's very hard to implement it.
I understand that. And I understand people's nervousness. I constantly think that we unintentionally create environments where it's very difficult for people to lead, because we promote people who are very good at their technical skills. So a lot of people end up in leadership because they're very good at something else. And leadership is a very different set of skills. And we keep promoting people. And at no stage are we stopping and saying, would you like some training with that? Or would you like some more support? And I think the higher people go up that ladder, the more terrified they become, because they have got no idea what they're doing, because most of us don't. And it gets scarier. And so then they get more controlling.
Well, what I see, and I'm a strategic partner to an education institute that works in leadership only on 2 issues, personal and business. If you want to have personal or business training, how to be a manager, that's okay. We're not going to give that kind of training. It's about you first. Who are you?
Absolutely.
And I see all the time that people say, I'm the manager. Who are you as a person? Because you can only lead people if you know who you are. So we start with them. and then look at their skills and see what they can and what they can't. And you're so right. I see the best expert becoming leaders, and then we lost the best expert and we have the worst manager. And I told that a couple of weeks ago in a big organization, and the CEO didn't like me anymore because I told him, well, if you are the expert in taking care of elderly people, you should be working as a professional in that field and not being the CEO of the organization, because we lost your skills, your talent on helping people, unless you can transform it into supporting people who are now the professionals. And it was a nice talk, and she agreed with me, but it's not how we organize businesses.
No, it's not.
It's always top down.
Yeah. A very good friend of mine was general manager of a very large engineering company, and he's the same age as me. So he's in his early 60s, and he retired so he could go back to engineering because he spent 10 years leading. And he said the joy was in the doing and being a technical expert. That was his skill set.
Yeah. And the point is that we are not really discussing it because we see the short-term profit of having an expert as a CEO or a director, and they get better results because they push people to the next level. But at some point, the level of the CEO is like this and the expert like this, and we can't manage that gap. So if you have the best expert being the director telling the others what to do, they can become scared, and social safety is gone immediately. And we won't open up again and ask a question. And what is nice, if you have a team meeting, and we call it campfire meetings. So it's not a board meeting anymore, it's a campfire. We're sitting around the fire telling stories. And the manager, the team leader, is one of those people sitting around. And he's not on the top of the table telling us 45 minutes to an hour what he thinks, but he asked, what is your story? So I see the campfire meetings coming up. We sit around a table, no papers, no laptops, just ask, how are you doing? And what do you need from us as a team to perform in a better way? And it will sound silly the first time, but after a couple of months, people will open up and say, well, I had a call yesterday and this happened to me, and I could use your support in how to deal with that problem. Because then we're equal. Even though the manager leader is paid 4 or 5 times more than I am, we are equal in our experience. And that's fun too, to experience, because then suddenly those people that we think they're not worth that much, they have a lot of stories to tell. That's what they see. The janitor sees a lot of stuff, what's going wrong, but we never ask the cleaner or the janitor what's going on really in our business.
I love that. I love that. So my brain, though, comes back to accountability. And in those board meetings, we like to see all the numbers and we want to know we've met our KPIs and all of those things. Where does that fit in? How do you manage that? Or is that an email?
Of course, it's important because a company needs to earn money to keep on going. So I fully agree. But what I see is that we start with the KPIs.
Yeah.
And if we are not meeting the success we wanted, then the whole meeting is negative.
Mm-hmm.
There's no energy. People are starting doing other stuff. They are looking at their phones. They're managing their emails because they're out. Accountability starts with the flow of energy. And if I can meet with you on that level and we can have that open discussion, then we can use the last 15 minutes saying, and now looking back, this is what happened. We talked about improvement already. What are our suggestions for the next quarter? But I was in the board of directors of a large company because I was the expert. And we were talking 2.5 hours about this pack of numbers. And I quit because I had no clue. It's none of my business. So it's for the finance director. And he should say, okay, I see this. And I talked already with the leader about it. And this is our suggestion. But we first ask it to the people. So if we change our meetings, first in storytelling and then looking at the figures, that will be a solution. Because figures are important. Of course, I want to have my money as well. So I want to have a good life. That needs to be taken care of. But accountability starts with telling who you are, knowing your core values, and sticking to them. So alignment between the core values of the company and those of the individual, there should be alignment in it. I have on my YouTube page an English animation video about core values and alignment. And if you get alignment, you have accountability. Because I can ask you, this happened. Could you tell me why it happened? And we can have that meeting. And that's accountability in practice.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you, working with leaders who are still working out who they are, how do you help them identify their core values?
To be honest, I have coaches who do that for me.
Okay.
Because basically, I'm still that lawyer. I don't love disc, but I'm blue. And that's not true because a lot of people say you're red. So Lindsay Adams sells the disc profile worldwide, and we did the test 2 or 3 times, and every time I'm a different person. Everybody has all the colors, but depending on your job, you're handling like this. I worked with 2 coaches in South Africa, and we worked 4 days in a row, 24 hours a day on my core values. And that was a really tough session because the first day they asked me, Paul, what are your core values? And we were driving to a lion sanctuary, all the nice thing you can do in South Africa. But in the car, they said, Paul, what is your core value? I said, well, integrity. And the lady said, nope, that's not true. I watched all your material. I watched your speeches online. No, it's not integrity. And I thought, who are you to criticize me? That's the old traditional one. And we started talking. And on day 4, I had a more clear set of core values because I didn't change, but I couldn't put them in the right way. So now it's transparency leading into integrity. I want to know why people do what they do. I need to understand them to keep them accountable, but there will be a red line for me. This is the way I like it. And number 2 is my family is my core focus. It's not number 1. I'm honest, I traveled all over the world. I wasn't at home. So they're not my number 1. They are my central focus. I always come back and I'm always there for them. Number 3 is fun, is my fundament. So like we're talking about playing, if I do a job and I don't like it, I will ask the company if they give me permission to select another consultant to take over my role. I'm not quitting. I'm just saying I'm not good enough for you because it's not giving me any energy. And my number 4 core value is loyalty. And I'm quite naive in loyalty. But I need that loyalty to perform in a trustworthy way. And that's for me very important. So telling those core values helps others to think about it. And we have programs with what is your most favorite movie? and people know that movie. And then you say, what part of that movie really touched you so deep that you could cry about it? And then people describe, again, storytelling. They describe that scene in that movie that really moved them so much. And then he said, what does that say about you? And then you start thinking about your core values. So you have card sets with it, you have programs online. I would do it with a coach or a friend or your partner. And I always say, do it with a coach, then talk about your core values with your friends, and then discuss them with your partner. Because if you disagree with your partner, you have another problem. So, but it takes time. It will take 6 months, 12 months, hard work to find your core values. So I see some management teams leaving to a hotel on a Friday, and on Monday they come back in the office and say, we have a new set of core values. Well, you can't have a new set of core values. It's who you are.
Yeah.
You can't change it in a weekend and then expect the people to align with the new core values. So that's the big issue. If you want accountability, you need to work hard on your company core value, your non-negotiables, and those of your employees. And you can't tell them you need to have integrity as your core value. You can't. It's there or it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that it takes time, because it does take time. I'm just thinking about teams. I can't tell you the number of times I've walked into workplaces and they have their core values on the wall, and somehow they've ticked that box and said that now has fixed the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Doesn't-
it's so terrible. You say it. I walked into the biggest insurance company in the Netherlands, into their main office. It's lovely because it's like Zappos. Everybody can have their own playing field, and you have soccer games and all that kind of stuff. And they had 9 words on a big wall above the entrance. So I went to the lady at the counter and said, can you tell me your core values? And she said, how do you mean? I said, well, they're behind you. And she said, oh, that's what it is. And then we had a meeting, and it was communications and HR. And I told them, nobody believes what you're saying. And then, of course, blah, blah, no, we had a program. I said, no, they're not aligned. So you can't hold them accountable because they are not aligned. They see words. And I think 9 core values is a bit much. 4, 5 will do. And then you need to invest in your people and in the onboarding program. Even before they send in an application, they need to know who you are, what your core values are. They need to be on the homepage of your website. This is who we are, and this is what we can offer you. And if you don't have them on your homepage, they're not important.
Fantastic.
We see the same companies.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about core values and purpose and mission, vision, but they're only busy with planning.
Yeah.
And that's the final stage.
Yeah.
And of course, if you start a company, you're not working on your core values. You have them because you are you and you start your business. So, but then we make a mission, a vision. We go to the bank, we ask for money. They ask for strategy plans, and we say, this is our strategy, and that it becomes a business plan. And then we forget the starting position. What are my non-negotiables? How do I want to be connected to? What is my mission, my vision? So I think it's our role to help people getting back to that position, even if you exist for 80 or 100 years, like Heineken. I had a discussion with one of the communication people of Heineken worldwide, more than 120 years old. Family is still in charge. What are the family core values? And she could mention them because grandfather wrote them down, and they're still using them in their organization. So I was happy to see that generation number 4 still works with the core values that grandpa started with. Will it all be true? I didn't check it. Are they still the same? Yes. And I see and you see companies who merge with others and suddenly have a new set of core values, and they have no clue about the unwritten ground rules that determine what the core values are.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
Chaos.
Well, it's chaos, and then we are disappointed that the results aren't at the level that we hope them to be.
Yeah.
But then you need people that have energy to perform their work. So I saw the last 10 years a lot of buzz about customer experience. And a very good friend of mine, Nienke Bloem, is going to Australia, have CX programs. And she is now much more aware about the employee experience as well. Because if you can't take care of your employees, they can't take care of the customers. So, but we were so focused on the outside, and maybe that's part of the time. I don't know. We're in a transition period from Anglo-Saxon to something new. The world is changing. We want more connection, and then we get some people who are the world leaders who are in that mix zone and create chaos. But I think we need those to get to that new phase that people, the normal people, say, well, we want connection. We don't want fight. We want to have our core values back, and we want to connect with other human beings on. So I'm not negative about this time in the history, but for me, it's clear that we are in transition, that we have some issues to solve.
Yes, I very much agree with you, and I wrote something about this recently about being woke, but also thinking that, and this is why I like conflict, is that it helps us identify what's important, and that is very much happening right now, and it's really painful right now, but it will get us very clear about what our values are. So I think there's a lot to be gained, but we have to get through this period right now.
And so if we help people understand that this is not the end of times, but it's transition from one economic political situation into a new one, then it will help a lot of people who are insecure, who have mental issues, to get into that new phase. Because if you're insecure, and that's what we see, the so-called burnout complaints in the Netherlands, it's about 30%. They're not ill, they have complaints because they are insecure. And then they don't know their core values. They don't align with the core values of the company. And our political system isn't supporting them as well, because they're fighting the whole time instead of taking care of the people. If we can make it happen that it is transition, then it will be easier to get into that new phase.
Yeah.
Conflict helps as long as we don't use our fist, and we have people who can say, okay, sit down, let's have a conversation.
Yes.
And it's just listening.
It is just listening. The power of listening.
Yeah, call it the triple A status. It's attention, attention, attention. And you can only give attention if you learn how to listen. And I think listening is the most important thing for a leader to do. And we all know those meetings where the leader is talking for 45 minutes to an hour and people are walking away and they say, well, you could have sent me an email because you aren't listening.
Yeah. So what does, you are a lawyer in this space of humanity. Does the law provide you with the structure? Is it the guardrails, do you think? Is it?
Well, I think it's the in-between. You have your set of beliefs, and for some it's religion, for others it's who they are, it's holistic approach. that are your personal guidelines. Then you need something, if you are in a company, to make the kinds of rule, the square that we use to play our game in, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
Look at all the games we're playing, tennis, whatever, Australian football. We
Hmm.
need a set of guidelines, but
Yes.
they're not telling us how to do it.
No.
They set only the criteria.
Yes.
Then I like to be a lawyer. Then I like to help to set those guidelines that are safe, that are open, that we can discuss. If it becomes the protocol that we have to tick the box, this is what we did, then skip it. Because then it's not about humanity, it's not about human relation, it's about me telling you what to do. So the law is very important. We always have laws, all religions have laws.
Yeah.
But it's the way we use those laws, those rules, to make clear to the people around us, this is the way we like to act together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. And I see it, especially politicians, because they are somewhere not connected to the rest of the world, and they want to make the rules so specific that you can only tick the box. Then it won't work. No law will work. If we make it open and say, this is how we behave,
Yeah.
this is how we do our play, then it will work. And of course, we need rules.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always been there. It will always stay in every tribal environment. They had their rules, but they had also the campfires.
Yeah.
That's why I love that feeling of a tribal area, and you have good books about tribal communities.
Yes.
And then you're talking about, okay, let's talk about the rules at the campfire and see what we need to adjust, because
Yeah.
we have more people, we have different people, the nature is changing, the rules are changing, but we need to have an open discussion, and then it starts with listening.
It does. Paul, this has been absolutely fantastic. I think we could talk for hours. I think there's a lot of alignment here.
Yeah.
Our values. People are good. They're doing their best. Let's give them an opportunity to shine and to play in the space that they want to. They choose. And whether that's picking flowers or kicking the goal. Everyone, there's room for everyone.
Absolutely. And we need all the people to survive.
Yes.
Don't exclude anyone. A lot of discussion about diversity, inclusion, inclusivity. For me, it's a discussion in the background, because for me, they're all human beings.
Yeah.
Let's accept all human beings. Then it's 100 times easier to live together. But we make rules and how to do that kind of stuff. And I think, no, just be normal.
Just be normal. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. I love talking.
Okay.